Right, can everybody hear me? And can you all see a Bitcoin chart? Yeah, let's look for my lighter. I will start if somebody can let me know we've got audio. Okay, Bitcoin chart you can all see. As you do, let's go. So before I continue, I'm gonna read out the necessities. So welcome to the first live weekly Bitcoin update video. So before we begin, I just want to say thanks to our sponsor PrimeXBT for making this happen. You can show them some appreciation by signing up to their platform using the link in the description. If you use the code TraderSZ, you'll also get a 50% deposit bonus. Finally, just remember that nothing discussed today constitutes financial advice, and you should always do your own research before doing any kind of investing or trading. Now that that's out of the way, let's begin. So it's just going to be a Bitcoin breakdown, and at the end, maybe a couple of minutes at the end, we'll have questions. So save the questions till the end. Okay. Yeah. So let's start with the yearly. So since it's the first session, I'll start drawing out my levels, and we can use the same levels as we go forward, in the next week, etc. Okay. So these higher time frame levels don't change often, but let's just start from scratch. So whenever I look at the yearly chart, I always look at where are we within the yearly range. We can see this current yearly candle, 12-month candle, we're above the open, okay? But we are within last year's range, sorry. So let's draw that out. So always start off top down. So give that a bit of girth. Okay, so that's last year's high, just so we're aware, and last year's low. So if you were to ask me probability-wise, where would be the next objective from just from this chart alone, I'd say up to here. Now things can be different, but that would be objective just based on the yearly. We'll go in now to the quarterly, and I always have my quarterly levels. So whenever whenever I hinge my trades, they're always going to be framed off the higher time frame level. So we'll have that in there, even though they're a bit of a distance away. There was objectives or areas I'm looking to take trades off of. So these are my quarterly levels that I've got of interest. So we've got that there, and we'll do that in a different color so it doesn't get in the way. Okay. And we've got this here and this here. Okay, so let's go down to the weekly now. We've got previous quarter high as well, but we'll draw that out near the time. We'll go to the weekly, and as you can see from the weekly, we've got this here. So just from a higher time frame perspective, you can see how these quarterly levels were pivots for the market, or where the market was ranging within. For example, so this quarterly level was key. When it broke below, it fell to that quarterly level. Back and forward until it broke, then we traded within here, and when it got back above here after the big drop, okay, you can see that was used as a pivot to there. When it broke that, we were trading within here. So this takes me on to what I'm looking at now. So going to the daily now, we can see for ages, for months, I say months, weeks, sorry, we're within this, and then when we broke out of it, okay, we've pushed higher. Question is now, where are we now? So for me, personally, the range I'm looking at is the macro extreme range for me, okay? Not saying it's right or wrong, but it's just the way I'm looking at it. And that high comes in at here. I still need to get used to this tool, to be honest with you. There. Whoops. So that, for me, is the key pivot. Why is this the key pivot? We'll go over it now. So give that a girth. That's the one that stands out to me. For me, this is the extreme point, okay? And to the downside, the extreme point, it comes in line with 2019 low, so it's here. Why do I draw this out? So the reason why is, if I was to drag this to the left, that could be seen as a deviation, but this is where the trading is happening, okay? So just from this chart alone, if we were to make a clean break above here, okay, that would say to me, okay, at that point, I'm ready to go towards these targets. Okay, not saying it is or isn't. We'll get to that in a minute as to what would increase the probability of that happening. But for now, you know why that's a macro key resistance, okay? For me, it's make or break. Compared to this resistance, we still had not reached that key level. But now we're at a make or break point, okay? So, every time we got below here, massive sell-off. A couple of times it attempted above, failed, massive sell-off. There's no reason why we can't get some sort of reaction. It could still be bullish. I'm not saying it's not bullish, but warning sign, okay? So for the long scenario, this was my objective, okay? So using that level, okay, I can, bigger picture, I can say I'm very, very bullish, okay? But I could still get thousands of dollars dip and then get the big run up. I'm interested in trading this. Investing is different. Trading, what do I need to see now? So this takes me on to focusing on where I need to focus on, which is between these levels now. This quarterly level and this. If it clears that, then my focus is going to be on within here. So I can ignore everything else. All this drawing was done for me to focus on or zoom in as to where I need to focus on, which is here now. Okay, so everybody with me so far? Yep, nothing much into it, just drawing out the levels. Why are these levels important to me? Now we get to the area where I draw out my plans. Okay, so you with me so far? So let's zoom in now and say, okay, what do I need to focus on? So we've been in this consolidation for ages. This is what's going to stand out. So I'll draw out my ranges as I need. So we'll start off with here. This was the high that was capping it. And after you'll find these key higher time frame range levels line up with these yearly, quarterly levels a lot of the time. So that was the high. And this was the low. So before anything else, before I do look at any ranges or anything, it's always the key higher time frame levels. Once I've identified my key higher time frame levels, then I can start drawing my ranges, my lower time frame levels. I mean, the daily would be a lower time frame compared to the monthly, quarterly. So let's break this down further. So I've narrowed this down and said, okay, if this was a 5-minute chart, this would be a perfect breakout, retest. That's my target. So why would it not be possible? So a possible scenario could be, we could get a retest here. If I want to go for longs, 2 ways that I'd feel confident on. And the scenarios I'm going to mention are more higher time frame, more swing based. And then once we narrow it down to the lower time frame, you can then start planning, day trades from that. But if it's at resistance, where would the next target be towards? Would be here, wouldn't it? The breakout point of here. Now you could argue, well, we've got that level there, that level there. Yes, that as well, that's fine. I'll get to that in a minute. But just to keep it simple, before we go into more detail, I'd say there's no reason, if this holds, there's no reason why we can't come into there and then possibly go there. Or if that does not happen, what if it's a really strong move? If it doesn't give me the dip I want, minimum level here, and then I'll see if it gets here, what does it do? For all I know, this could be a deviation. And then we start playing back into this range again. Okay? So this is why at this point I find it level to level, and then we'll take care of the rest when it comes to our level. So the other point was, what if it breaks out of here? So at that point, I need a clean breakout. Now, a daily close alone above here is not enough. Here was a daily close and then got back below it. You got another daily close here. So was with here. What is I need to see? So I like the fact that if it's going to be bullish, okay, if it made one attempt, failed, another attempt. If it's going to make another attempt, what I need to see is it got break above it cleanly and then hold. That says to me we've made 2 attempts. The next one makes a clean attempt. That should be ready. Now we're back into dealing within here. And along the way, 2019 high. But along the way, I'll be looking for a long there. And then we've got this target, that target, and then there. And then if that gets cleared, who knows, all-time high possibly. We'll deal with that when the time comes. But we've got clear objectives to reach for. So let's draw them out, the clear objectives. So I always like to work backwards in the sense where if I know where market's going to go next, okay, I then go for where's my invalidation level. And once I've identified that, then comes my entry. It's just easier for you to work with. So let's draw them out. So we'll keep these levels in for the next stream. Okay. And we'll see how trades unfolded by that time. I'll need them up later, but these are the objectives. Okay. So now I know where I'm working within. So now I've got that. I'm also going to mark out a smaller range. Okay. So after you'll find these levels can overlap a lot, but you'll see why. Actually, I'll box that out. It'll make it easier. We can do it neatly yourself. Doesn't matter. Here. Why this range? Because if we look, this was consolidation before. Okay. Here. Coupled with the quarterly level. So I don't sometimes draw out just a box on its own. I'll also draw a key SR level. Okay. But we can see this consolidation on its own capped it. Coupled with the quarterly level. Resistance. Capped it there. Deviated it. Once it got back below the quarterly level, sold off. Capped it. And then it smashed through it. So the box, looking by the box, it's made a clean break out of the box. Now, just because it's made a clean break, it doesn't necessarily mean, okay, it's definitely done. For me, it says to me, we are still capped within here. Okay. Step 1 for me would be the break. Step 2 is seeing, this is from a swing perspective. Okay. Step 2 is seeing, is this a deviation or is this a true breakout? For me, the true breakout comes in the form of breaking above here, hold, and then that says to me, okay, this is a true breakout, and then I'll go towards that. Okay, so now that we've got that identified, let's go down. So I'm explaining in a sense where so you understand why I have my view that is short term and what I need to see, going forward. So we can see the high of the box that I've just drawn a line makes it easier. It's capping it. So if I want a trade idea now, there's two ways I do it personally. One is, where am I wrong? I'm going to be wrong above here. Okay, because if it's going to make another attempt, okay, most likely I'm wrong. So that would be my violation level if I was to short it. By the way, this is not financial advice. This is just my ideas, okay? And we can see we're trapped within here, so that would be a nice short. So going back towards these quarterly levels, if these were capping the market, if you bought here, sold there, bought here, sold there, that's the cap until it breaks out. So having said that, there's two ways. One, I could be aggressive, okay? And this is just the daily before I go to the lower time frame. And I'm wrong there. So I could play it towards there. If that was to break, or if I wasn't sure about here, in case it does break out, well, what would give me the confirmation or increase the probability of the idea? For me, the probability of the idea would be confirmed if it got back below here, held. Then I know what I'm dealing within. I'm dealing within this range. So that's a clear target towards here. Extended targets could be, it doesn't necessarily have to hit the peak. It could come a bit deeper, could be there. But that target opens up. If we clear this level, hold below it, then I'd say, okay, that's a target. So before I continue, is this part clear? And then I'll talk about the little patterns on the lower time frame. But this is just purely off the daily, okay? Yep. Okay. So let's continue now to the lower time frame. So now that we know the levels we're dealing with within here, if it breaks above here, we know what we're dealing within. So let's break this down now and start coloring up the stuff. So if we look on the daily now, so now I'm focused within this range here, okay? So if I look what's capping the market now, all I've done is on the weekly the same, identify my range. Once I've got my range, I know where the levels are to work within. If it breaks one range, I'll enter the other one. Another reason why I do this is because if I'm looking for a swing trade, I don't know if it's going to go higher or not. So if I've identified where we're dealing within, that means I can close my trade. I can always get back in later on. So I know, so for example, say I wasn't sure here for the short. Okay, that's fine. Say for example, or for a long. Say I was long and I got out here and it started finding resistance. Now I could be in the mindset, what do I do here? Do I close it? What if I miss out? But if you close it here, that's fine. You're planning the next stage. The next stage is, I know that if it cleans, I get back in. That way, at least you've banked it and you know what you need to see to get back in, and you've got more defined risk and you get clear targets to reach for. So that usually helps me. So let's break it down now and say, okay, when it broke out, what's the first resistance? The first resistance is here. Let's mark that out. And that high comes in at 11,431. Yes, I know there's an easier way. This is just the way I do it. Deal with it. Before I do it, let me spark up. Little fag break while we continue. So that's my KSR level. Now you'll see even on the lower time frame how well these KSR levels are respected on the lower time frames. So even as a scalper or a day trade, I think these levels are always important. Okay, so let's break this down now. That one level, let's see how it looks like on this at the lower time frame, and look how much of a pivot that is. Okay, so let's see if we look at it here. Resistance, 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 support. Now remember the scenario I said on a clean breaking market structure. So one could say, well, my scenario was if it breaks that, we enter the range. Now for those that use traditional like patterns, high, low, high, high, if that cleanly breaks, then you've got your high, low, lower, high, lower, low, haven't you? So for me, when I get asked, what do you look for the higher highs? I know it doesn't matter. Once it enters a new range, you'll just magically find, or it'll just so happen you've got the lower, lower, lower high, haven't you? But for me, it's about what do I need to see to make it easy for me to know this level breaks that level, and it's the way I've drawn it now. Okay, so if I go to that now, well, I know this is a key support level. Okay, so if I wanted to sell, it's gonna be this my boundary to sell at towards here, just like here. Okay, towards here. So what do I do here now? Okay, we're right at the extreme end. I mean, is this going to be a lower high? I don't know. If I was to short it here, I don't have a clear validation level other than here for now. Okay, so if I wanted to have a tighter risk, again, from a swing point of view, okay, if it cleared that level and held, then I know what's the next objective. It's going to be towards here, isn't it? So that means that I'd keep it in violation level there. And as long as it didn't make a clean break above here, I'm going to be targeting here. Now, I can have it in violation level there if it makes a clean break. But if it was to get back above and hold, then that would be my exit scenario way before we even got to that. We good so far? Yeah, the light up a fag. Okay, so again, this is just on the whole H4, making it easy to understand. Before I even get to the H1 15-minute entries, this is just the entry techniques I use on a lower time frame. Okay, so I know that, okay, easy short. If I didn't short it there, my target's there, okay, that's fine. I know where can I get on board. Well, if it enters this boundary, that's the key higher time frame level. I'll be looking for shorts there then into here. Just so happens to then be a breaking structure if you want to look at it that way. And that would be a clean short down towards there. Okay, so let's break it down to the lower time frame now and start throwing in lower time frame stuff. So it's a weekend. Do I want to be taking this? I don't know. But I wouldn't really take this on a weekend, to be honest with you, where it's at right now. But what I would say is, okay, from what we've got to work with, what I'll be looking for is, okay, last week this was Monday's high. Okay, so now that I refined it, now if I find the Monday's high, so you always see me on Twitter, you see me draw the Monday's range. Okay, Monday's range on its own means fuck all. Okay, it means nothing. It's got to be coupled with higher time frame levels. That's the higher time frame level. That's the higher time frame level. Okay, so if I break this down now, that was Monday's high, I believe. Let me just quickly check, just in case. Yep. So that's Monday's high. So it just so happens that the Monday's high lines up with that key high time frame level. So I could do it without that, but all it does is help me define the level more, try to get a bit more precision. That's where the lower time frame stuff comes in. Me personally, I prefer to swing trade it, so I don't bother looking at it that much. But if it happens, why not? There's no harm in that. Okay. So now I know, coupled with this, that's the Monday's high, and last week's range, last week's low comes in at Monday's low, I believe, which comes in just so happens to come in that level. So we won't draw that level out because it's already there. So we leave that alone. Oopsie daisy. Okay, so from here, what I've got to work with, okay, if it breaks this level now, break down, and that will be my shorting opportunity towards there. Now, along the way, we do have targets along the way. The target along the way, one's going to be here, short term. Why this? This was the consolidation that sent it up. So for a short term opportunity there, if it breaks that, so I can then draw that, break it down. So just like I showed you on the higher time frame, how you can use ranges. You can do the exact same thing on the lower time frame. So let's draw that out and then mark other scenarios. So what's capping the market here, in my opinion? Let's draw out the levels here because I'm using a different feed. I'd say here. So if I look at this is where the range initially started. So I'll go all the way to the left and see, okay, what was capping it previously? It was here. There. Let's give that a bit of color. I'll explain why I've got those levels. Let's do in blue. And then the downside, what was the downside capped by? So these levels now will confluence the higher time frame levels, okay? So if we look last week or week before, whenever, this was the range, this was capped, okay? We made a deviation of it, got back below it. Then when we made it clean, this is the break. See that there? When it breaks above, it holds, and then there's the breaking market structure pattern, and there's your long towards the macro range level, because those are going to be magnets for price, these higher time frame levels. Let's do the same thing here now. So if it breaks below here, now this is, you can play like a level to level and keep a swing trade in mind. So what I often do is I'll have my core swing position running, and then while that's running and once it's in profit and I'm able to reduce my risk, I day trade it towards that side as well. So as a swing trade, I think personally it's probably going to go, if I'm correct on the idea, towards around back here, say 10.4ish. Let me draw that level. Forgot to draw that actually. He's towards here, I think, possibly, but the minimum level, if you remember, what I did was, remember that I said, what if it comes into that high there? I'll just draw that out, just so it's there. I'll explain why. Okay, just more or less there, that level there. So on a swing basis, okay, if you recall, because I know I'm going to get all over the place, so bear with me. Swing basis, level to level, I'm trading within from there. Now on the way down, we've got this to contend with. I'll give you an example. So when it rallied here, okay, you may have had, say, this level, okay, but before it did that, it bounced and pushed up. So if I go deeper now, say on the weekly, okay, so we had this level here, didn't we? So coming back to my point where if we break out, here, ideal scenario to say, for example, to get long would be here, but it doesn't do that straight away in one-way lines. It could bounce before. So what was the level that it bounced at? Here, then pushed up, then pushed lower. Okay, so this is why it's important to realize if there is any resistance on the way down. Okay, and in this case there is. Similar scenario would be, it would be ideal if Bitcoin could, like, say on a swing basis, that's my ideal level where I look for longs, but on the way down we've got this level and this level as well. So when I'm profit taking, I'd rather go with more conservative, just in case it does do something like that. Does that make sense? Okay, because you're not guaranteed it's going to go there. So you got to be realistic and say, okay, it's perfect scenarios are like this, but that's not how all these markets work. It could do one of these ones, bounce and then do that. Okay, so you got to be wary of that. So that's why once I got the swing position in, level to level, it does make it a lot easier. Okay, so anyways, let's go down now. So now we'll look for entry triggers, okay? So we've gone over the swing entry trigger. I know where I'm wrong above here, okay? I know where I'm targeting here and then there. Now for the lower time frame, okay, using the same higher time frame levels, I've gone over why I've got this and then this. So if it breaks below that, my target's here, okay? And it's going to be towards there, this region here, say. Now, at that point, my question is, what if this is the deviation? What if it does this and goes back above? That's fine. I can exit it unless it does a nuke straight through. Because then I know if it gets back below this level, which is previous range high, then that is a probability towards this level, okay? Which is that daily level we spoke about. And then and the Monday's low, and then towards here, okay? Everybody with me so far? We can deal with CME gaps later on. I mean, they don't have to get filled in straight away. But let's keep on the topic. Everybody clear? So that's how we play level to level. And then if that level breaks, well, we know that's key support. Should turn resistance. Well, the higher time frame magnet are here and then there. Then can play level to level from there to there. So covering how to play the swing idea and then level to level trading. Okay. So on the other side, okay. On the other side, what do? One second. What about for a long? How do I get a long then? So that's the downside covered. What about a long? Well, I did say I want to see a clean daily smash above here. So what we do here is, okay, what is the consolidation here? So what I've got is, what's capping the market to the upside here is here. Why is this level important? So this will give me a trigger for my longs now. Okay, so the reason why this is important is because when we rallied, that was the initial high, deviated, found support there. Okay, so it rallies into it again. So a break of this weekly level on the lower time frame isn't enough, because on the lower time frame H1 it could make, even a daily could make a close above, then come back down. We now know above this level what's capping it here. So if it breaks above here, consolidates, then I'd say, okay, that's acceptance above this level now, coupled with like another close, higher time frame close above here, and that would be my long scenario, going towards this as my target, then that, and then working towards 2019 high. Everybody clear with that? So let's go back to the daily. So how I'm approaching the shorts, and then this, how I'm approaching the longs if it gets above here. Okay, ideally I'd love it if it could come towards here, because again the higher time frame basis. But what I know now is, because we're at resistance, oopsie daisy, what was that? Because I'm at higher time frame resistance, I know if it's going to be a play, one, I can just wait for the pullback, okay? Two, wait for the breakout, okay? Otherwise, I don't know how long this could chop for. This could chop for ages. And then, as you know, while this was chopping, alts were flying, okay? Maybe we get that scenario. So if you get that scenario, either wait for a key high time frame level or wait for the breakout to play the next momentum move, okay? So once we broke out of there, that's when we got the next momentum move. So in this case, If it breaks out of this key high time frame level, a break of a key high time frame level will then give me my next momentum move towards there. Okay. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to play day trading it level to level until I get a clean move. Okay. So that more or less covers Bitcoin. Okay. I'll take a couple of questions. Okay, and then we'll end it here. Okay, I will see how it unfolds. Any questions? Keep it on Bitcoin. I'm not going on anything else. Any questions? I know it's a bit of a lag, so I'm on a YouTube stream before, so it's my first time. Getting used to it. Someone asked about CME gap. Yeah, I mean, like I said, CME gaps. Let's just look at the CME. CME gaps can get filled later on. I mean, they don't necessarily have to be filled in. I don't pay that much attention to them unless, you know, they're a clear target to reach for. So let's just quickly go to it. Right, where's the gaps at? Here. I mean, what about this? What about this gap here? You know, got filled in later on. What about that gap here? Filled in later on. It can get filled in, you know, later on. These gaps. Okay. But for example's sake, in this scenario, okay, if we break back below this range level, okay, so if I shorted, that would be our objective. If we got back below here, then I'd say, okay, most probability wise, we could then fill it in because we've re-entered this range now. Make sense? But they don't necessarily have to be filled in straight away. And I often find gaps within consolidation don't necessarily have to. It could be a runaway gap, okay? So my whole trade, sure, wouldn't be based on purely, oh, there's a gap there. This could take months to fill in. It doesn't have to fill in straight away, okay? But that's how I do it. One question. Okay, ask a question if I missed them. Let me scroll back in the chat. Yes, don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel, retweet, the usual. Yeah. Do you think that the bear market... I don't know if the bear market's over. I mean, I don't know. Could be. I mean, personally, for me, this is my extreme point, okay? So if it makes it easier, I keep it like a neutral point where I don't care. You see me memeing and joking about, but I'm still playing it level to level. Even if I am macro bearish, I'll still play it long. I don't give a damn about that. It's about making money. It's not about being, you know, oh, I was right in the direction. Who gives a fuck? But if it makes a clean smash above here, then I know next target's towards there. This is bull bear aside. I know where do I get in? Where's my likely target? Then if it evolves, if it smashes above here, then it could possibly go towards all-time high. Okay? Above here cleanly, then I'd say. But all I know is if it breaks above here, that's my main objective. If it's getting messy now, this chart, isn't it? But let's get rid of some of these levels. But if it's holding this level here, then I know I'm trading between here. Just like when it was here, I was trading within here. If it breaks out, I'm trading within here until we get a breakout. Okay? I mean, I'm not going to mention the bearish scenario, but if it does do that, okay, just in case, you know, going to cover, then that would mean I'm trading within here. Bullish, bearish, whatever aside. It's just where are my key levels? Then that would be from here to there. And then if you got back above here, then it's from here to there. Just level to level until, you know, that's it. Okay. Can you just wanna? I'm only gonna do Bitcoin for now, mate. Okay. I don't use heat map market profile now. I mean, nothing wrong with it. I just don't do it. I mean, I'm mainly swing trader, so I don't really need it. These are probably gonna be once a week. Okay, on a Sunday. Okay. What time does confirmation take place? I mean, there's no particular time frame I look for. Okay. I just want to see a clean break. I mean, like I said, a daily close above is one piece of the jigsaw. So if I'm bullish, okay, say instance here, a daily close above, okay, but that doesn't mean much to me just yet. Because the next day it could close bearish, as you've seen, like I've explained. You know, it could close bearish. For me, a breakout is, it breaks above, holds, and then I get the breaking structure. So for example's sake, if it broke above here, I'll give you an example here. So if you remember, although it was bearish bigger picture, I did say, if it gets back above here, then that's bullish. So I'll give an example of what it looks like. Then you can just practice it and stuff like that. So for example's sake, when we were here, this was still resistance, okay? Unless it got back above that and proved that this was a deviation. So at what point would I say, okay, I'm ready that this is going to be a clean breakout? Is here. So it held above. And then once I got that, arranged. And once you broke out of that range, that's it. That's consolidation at the key SR flip. And at that point, okay, let's go. So because till then, this could have been a deviation flip back below. So what I usually see is, say make it basic. That's resistance, price is trading. Okay, I don't know there. But once you can establish support, then I'd say, okay, that's a breakout for me. So at that point, it's not really a time frame based, is it? It's just what I've just explained. However you want to understand that. Okay. So, okay, last question and I'm going to go. How would you trade? I don't know. How would I approach this if this was in price discovery? Well, there's many ways. One is doubling up a range. So say this is the range. For example, say this is one way of doing it. So say this is a range. And then take that equal measured move. And then there. Say this wasn't there, for example, okay? That's one way. Another way is I use this, sometimes fib extensions. So if I take my fib level from swing high to swing low. And just pretend this wasn't here, okay? Well, I got the 127.2, 161.8, and then 200%, which would be the equal measured move of this leg here. Okay? There. So that's just different ways of doing it, okay? Whichever you prefer. Okay, so I think we'll call it a day now. Everybody clear with my plan before I go? Exactly what I need to see? Okay. So I'll catch you guys hopefully next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and hope you enjoy.